The objective in this video will be to bring some awareness as to what matters and what does not matter in today's job interviews, and how you could probably save a bit of time and effort from your interview prep this way. The first thing I like to talk about here would be the star format, right? So I have several thousand stories on my website. People write stories very often, and there's something they all have in common. They are all in the star format. Now, I'd like to clarify that having your stories in the star format is not a success formula for any job interviews these days. And furthermore, if you have a genuine and memorable and interesting story, your story could even suffer from that dramatization, if you want, if you template it in the star format, right? And so to be clear here, the star format was invented by employers, so they screen you better. So in other words, if you put your story in the star format, the interviewer will read you better as well. Now, is this to your interest? I'll let you decide, but I just wanted to emphasize, that sometimes templating your answer in the star format makes it lose that spark, if you want, right? So the first thing was the star format. The second thing I'd like to talk about here would be the company culture, right? So rightfully so, companies over the past couple of years have been highlighting their unique company cultures, and this was, in stark contrast with some bad company cultures, which were, a thing of the past, let's say, in some well-known companies. So they rightfully advertise their company culture, so that people say, hey, we have a good culture, so hey, I might be interested in this. Now, what some candidates do, many candidates do, actually try to reframe their stories or reframe their approach to interview just in order to fit into that company culture as good as possible. Now, let me just demystify something very quickly. So hiring for cultural fit is a hoax, right? This doesn't exist in high-performing environments, because if you hire for cultural fit, then it means you hire people who are the same type of people, and you cannot build high-performing teams using the same type of people. You have to have difference in opinion. You have to hire different people, unique people, right? So, long story short, don't waste your time making your answers fit into a company's culture. Just try to be unique, different, and be proud of it, right? There's nothing wrong with reading about the company's culture and such stuff, right? And the third thing I want to talk about here will be the job descriptions. Okay, so there's even services, people you can pay to read the job description for you in a bit to save time prepping for your upcoming job interview. I would start by saying, obviously, this doesn't work, but I would just also add that I used to run an HR software business where we had several thousands, tens of thousands of job descriptions. And the most common feature a hiring manager would use with respect to job description would be to clone the previous one, that in order to publish the new role. And we actually, and as HR software providers and several HR experts, we actually delivered them the job descriptions for their own roles, which they cloned, and they rarely touched them, just in order to use them. And the point here is that companies spend a ton of money writing job description. It's an expensive thing to do because, job descriptions who sell well are costly, okay? And once they have one, they will simply clone it for the next 5 years, okay, at least, right? So when you read the job description, that's not a job description for your specific role, but rather a job description which was built by someone else for a specific role and with the goal of recruitment marketing in mind, right? So from here to expect to be asked questions from the job description, that's something which doesn't fly in job interviews. Okay, so at best, employers will modify one paragraph in those job descriptions and hope for the best. So long story short, what's in for you here? Well, when you read the job description, understand it's for marketing primarily, and they will never, ever share what they're actually looking for in the, let's say, ideal candidate for that role. Right. So last but not least, I will just close by saying this, that this combination of templating your answers in the star format or fitting your answers into their company culture, and even reading through the lines, reading too much through the lines of the job description does have some adverse effects other than making your answers boring, but you also lose a bit on that uniqueness feeling. You lose that backbone that you would otherwise have, in detriment of other candidates who maybe didn't prepare for the interview and just come, hey, this is who I am. If you want, that's fine. If not, that's how it goes, right? So if you try to fit into that for the sake of social cohesion, if you want, then I believe that's also a dangerous approach. So long story short, be yourself, be unique, and be proud of who you are, and in a job interview in particular, right? So I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.